Well, hello everybody again. A little bit new, different look here. It's Kevin here again from bustingsticks.com. Thanks for joining me. I want to try something different. I've gotten some lovely comments about my playing. It's been very gratifying. I've been playing for a long time, but I don't play in public very often. I think more people have seen me play, honestly, on YouTube in the past year and a half than my other 40 years of playing, if you don't count crowds at marching band and drum corps shows. So it's been very nice, all the comments. And one of the things that people ask is, where'd you learn to play? How did you get so good? Why are you such a good player? And I'm an okay player, and I appreciate the comments. But I spent, 34 years teaching people how to play for marching band or percussion ensembles. So I have a little background in that, and I have some skills, and I have some things that I like to pass along. But to be fully honest, before I get to college, I never, ever had a single private lessons. So I'm not really great at knowing how to give private lessons because many times you don't know how to do it unless you've had some decent private lessons. I taught some lessons at a music school when I was in high school and college for a while for some extra money. I've never had drum set lessons, so honestly, I don't even know how I could begin to teach drum set. However, what I hope to do is give you a set of non-lessons, a set of examples and things that you can try that I've used in the past that helped me be the player that I am and maybe could provide some benefit to you. So we're going to start at the very beginning with non-lesson number one, and that is how to hold the sticks and play the basic stroke and do a basic warm-up. So first thing you need is a pair of sticks. I prefer when I'm practicing something with a little more meat and weight. So these are some very old Vic Firth, Ralphie Jr. indoor marching percussion sticks. They're a little bit lighter, they're a little bit longer. They have a kind of a fun feel to them. You can't buy this model anymore, but you could do that. I have down here, I have some other sticks. I have my beloved 747 Neil Peart replica sticks. They're basically the 747 in the oak. And I have them wrapped because I'm old and my hand cramps up when I play drum set now. And these are the stick that I've played 747 before in hickory and now in oak for time immemorial, for at least 30 of the 40 years I've played drum set. This is the stick I've used. Another great stick is a 5A or 2B. This is a 5A because I bought these from my 8-year-old for him. They're a good stick in terms of the length and the weight and the heft. If you're a jazz drummer or somebody plays light and you like to play with 7As, that's great. But for these sort of things, a stick with a little bit more meat, so you can get a feel for the stick and the rebound, is probably a better choice. It is a little bit more challenging to play the very light stick because there's so little mass in the stick. So I would really suggest pick up a 2B, a 5B, a 5A, or even a smaller pair of marching sticks, indoor sticks, whatever. That's I feel your best bet for these sort of things. So I'm going to put these down. The other thing you're going to need is a playing surface, a practice pad. We got this. This is a small little Evans real feel pad. It has a threaded connector on the back, so you can put it on a cymbal stand, so you can put it wherever you want. Or it's got a little cork / neoprene, so you can put it on a surface and it won't slide around. This is a great option. Cheap, easy to do. This is a larger real feel pad. It's an older one because I'm old. It's pretty heavy. It's got a gum rubber on the top and a harder rubber on the bottom that has a little less rebound, so it's a little bit more like a drum, but it is louder and with some chipboard in between, so it's pretty heavy. But you can put this on a surface as well, but obviously it's meant to go on a drum. You can put it right on a drum head or on a stand so you can move it around. If you don't have either one of those things, the thing that I found the most useful over time is a neoprene-backed mouse pad, one that's got a little bit of thickness to it. All right, see it on that camera right there, maybe. Honestly, been my go-to practice pad for many, many years. Doubles at work as a mouse pad. If you have the ability at work to pull out a pair of sticks at lunchtime, you can now practice on it if you want to annoy the heck out of your coworkers. It's light, it's flexible, it can go right in a backpack. You can throw it right on a drum to act as a muffle and practice that way. You can throw it on a countertop, almost anything. So if you need to, there's a picture of my daughters who are much older now. Neoprene practice pad, a neoprene mouse pad, great practice pad if you need to. All right, we got sticks. We got a playing surface. What else do we need? Well, we need to know how to hold these things. So I'll tell you in the past that I have been a stickler in many, many ways about how to hold a stick. You know, in the marching idiom, you know, you have a drum line of people, you want them all to look the same and hold the stick the same way. And you make all sorts of compromises. And I've learned over time that everybody's hands are different. What works for you doesn't exactly work for other people. You can watch all the great drummers of the world and you'll see all sorts of different styles, but they have some things in common, and that's what we're going to look at. So the first thing is, when holding the stick, is finding the balance point, and the way to hold it is to have what's called the fulcrum. The fulcrum is where the stick is going to rotate in your hand, where you have control over it. Not too far in the back, not too far up in the middle, but a point usually about an inch and a half at the end. And the trick is when you do this, you want your hands to be in the same spot. So early on, it might take you to have to put your sticks down every time to make sure your thumbs are lined up and your hands are lined up so they're the same way. But over time, you'll get it. Now, again, different drummers play different ways. I mean, Dave Weckl is famous. There are all sorts of memes of the way he holds the stick, where he's literally on the very end of his stick on his left hand with his traditional grip, whacking away at the drums. And he's Dave Weckl. He can do whatever he wants because he's been doing it a long time. But for most people, stick to finding a comfortable fulcrum point. Now, traditionally, that fulcrum point is between the index finger and your thumb. That's the traditional place. And I was quite the stickler about getting people to put it in the notch between their first and second knuckle. Again, I'll show you here, all that sort of thing. But in order to hold the stick like me, you've got to have a thumb like mine that bends in a very, very extended way, and that can be flat on the stick. Lots of people do not have this weird thumb that does, well, frankly, this 90-degree angle almost, right? Some people's thumbs don't bend that way. The important part is you need to find a fulcrum point where you can control the stick between your thumb and your fingers. Some players, some very famous players, their fulcrum point is actually their middle finger. Now, I'm not really sure how that happens. And you see them, you'll see their index fingers kind of just hanging out on the top of the stick. I'm not going to argue with Steve Smith or Neil Peart, for that matter, who was very much, if you watch close-ups of how he plays, a lot of times you'd see that index finger coming out there, and the fulcrum point is his middle finger and his thumb. Either way, however you do it, don't be different for the sake of being different. Find one that works and is consistent somewhere in there. Combination of the two is an excellent one. The second piece of it is, you need to make sure your fingers are all around the stick. Now, I'm not saying that they're gripped on the stick and never move. What I'm saying is that they're in the vicinity so that you have control over the stick. Too many times I see beginners with their fingers way out like this because they think, oh, that lets the stick rotate around. The problem is the stick wobbles all over the place. It hits the other stick or hits a room, the stick goes flying out of their hands. You have no control over it. These fingers need to be in the vicinity to keep that stick in control. I mean, back in the 80s when I was teaching marching band and my drum line, my kids would have their fingers out, I would literally walk around and whack their finger with the stick. Hard enough to break it, but hard enough to hurt. Can't get away with that anymore, but like to that extreme. Like that's how much I believe. You can't be leaving your fingers out. It's not tea time. You need to have them in there for reasons, all right? So you have a fulcrum. You have a decent grip on the stick so that you can control the stick in the air by kind of moving your fingers and thumb back and forth, so you have a modicum of control there. The next thing is approaching the playing surface. You really want to try to approach the surface so you're relaxed, you're square, and when your hands come up, there's a nice natural angle between your elbows and your forearms, a little bit open from 90, so that your sticks, if they're resting on the surface, slight downward angle, not like this. You don't want to be below it, so you're having to lift your arms up and your shoulders up. You want to be relaxed, because if you're relaxed, you can play longer, you can play harder, you can play faster. The more tense you get, the harder it is to do all those things. So relaxed, hands come up, And if you're doing this right, naturally, you should have about a 45-degree angle on your sticks as you look at them. They shouldn't be in here like this, because now my arms are against my ever-expanding belly, right in here. You want to be relaxed and out here. Now you're going to say to me, Kevin, that's very kind of marching, sort of traditional look, but I'm playing drum set. I get it. Stick with me, because if you can control this stick like this, and you can learn to have that fulcrum that control your fingers, then when you rotate up to your right hand, ride cymbal, now your thumb is on top, which by the way is called a French grip. You can see it right here, my thumb is on top. It's the same fulcrum. It's the same fingers moving the hand around, just in a different plane, but it's the same sort of control. So you're now up on the ride cymbal, your right hand's up here, that one's more open in the French grip, and you're still hitting your snare drum over here, and then you come across over here, and maybe you're playing the hi-hat, or you're coming down the drums. Your hands are going to kind of go from flat to up to flat to up as you play your kit. But learning how to play like this will help you in all those phases, okay? So, relaxed, come up, nice and square, shoulders down, elbows just loose next to you. That's the beginning. Now, the stroke. Obviously, the idea is to get the stick up and down in the most consistent, natural manner that you can. That's where the hand comes up, the wrist comes up, sometimes the forehand comes up, but it's a combination. It's never just one thing. I see players who try to play all with their wrists. We can not go very far with that, because there's only so far you can do that before you either give yourself tendonitis, or you can only play so fast. See, people only play with their fingers, or try to play with their elbows, their forearms. You're going to get tired. You'll never have the speed and power that you want. It is a continuum. You're using the whole arm as kind of an extension to the stick as you play. The idea is now you bring up your stick. Notice my finger all still has control. The fulcrum's still there. And now I bring the stick straight up and down. Right? So, what can you do to practice it? It's very boring. It seems very rudimentary. But trust me, if you've ever gone to see a really high-end marching band or drum line for a drum corps, and you watch them play and they're doing all these things, and there's 10, 12 of them, and they're playing exactly the same, perfectly in time, let me tell you, there are hours and hours and hours behind that of literally standing in front of on the drum and playing over and over again in different variations. Because why? We're perfecting the basic stroke, which then allows us to take it to the next level and the next level and the next level. So, you've got a fulcrum. You've got a relaxed grip. Your fingers are on the stick. You're able to lift it, open your hand a little bit to go straight up and down. What do you do next? Exercise I like to call 8 in a hand. You're going to play 8 notes in each hand, trying to be consistent and even with the whole stroke. Same volume, same height, same everything, and of course in time. So, something like this. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right? Pretty simple, pretty boring. Let me tell you, marching band rehearsals, 3-hour rehearsal, the first half hour, 45 minutes was some combination of that, starting at one tempo and ramping it up and ramping it up and ramping it up every week, 3 times a week. It seems boring, it seems simple, but trust me, you get the foundations down, you get a stroke that's consistent, you can take that to whatever level you'd like to be. So, you play drum set. How can you incorporate drum set into this? Well, like marching band, you have to move your feet. In marching band, yes, most marching bands and drum corps, people step off with their left foot. But if you play drum set, it's your right foot that's on the one, and the hi-hat and usually the snare is on the left, right? So while you're doing this, move your feet. If you look at the diagram that I'm showing you, I'm not going to teach you how to read notation, but I want you to try to connect the notation symbols to what I'm doing. So what we're doing in terms of notation is we're playing 8 notes. Each beat is divided in half. Quarter notes is the beat. 8 notes is the half of those. We're playing 8 of those, and your feet are going to move to the quarter note, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1. So you can do this sitting at your practice pad or sitting at your drum set. Doesn't matter, but get used to doing that so that your feet and your hands start to play in time. Now, yes, you play at the drum set and your feet do different things, and a lot of times your left foot is playing time all the time as a quarter note while you're doing things with your ride cymbal, whatever else. Right? You can work on all that if you want, but start with the basics first. Get the stroke consistent, get the feet moving if you can, and pay attention. Look at what you're doing. Focus at one thing at a time. So maybe you're looking at your hand position and your fingers. Maybe you're looking at the beat of the stick, making sure the path is up and down. Whatever it is that you want to work on, focus on that. So the key to this is to be consistent between the strokes, so it's in time. The other trick is when you make the conversion from the right hand to the left hand to stay in time. It's easy to, when you're making that switch from hand to hand, to come out of time slightly with that first stroke with the other hand, as in. Hear how I rush that on purpose, right? So really focus on when you're making the conversion, the switch from hand to hand, that you're maintaining that kind of machine gun, drum machine sort of consistency. Now, when you buy sticks nowadays, they're usually pitch matched so that you hear there's a slight difference in the pitches on this, and really a lot of the reason is this. Clearly there's a chunk taken out of these sticks from many years of banging on them, keeping time and stuff when I was teaching. You can test the pitch matching of sticks by tapping lightly on your head, open your mouth, and you can hear the pitch between them, and I can hear this pitch is a little bit higher because it's a little bit lighter. But again, use your ears again to try and say, am I hitting it the same velocity? Is it close? Switch your sticks. If you think, oh, one's higher and one's lower, maybe I'm hitting it. Now the pitches are reversed. You can hopefully hear that on the microphone, but it's really the same stroke. That stick is lower sounding, but the stroke is basically the same. When you're doing this practice, you want to aim for a circle, a small area, about 3 inches. You can draw it, maybe you can take a tuna can or a coffee can or a coffee cup or whatever, and draw on your pad. Because again, consistency is important. If you're playing a real drum, the more consistent area you play in the drum, the more consistent your sound will be. If you play all over the head, the sound's going to sound all over the head. I have my snare drum here, one of my old snare drums here. This head on here is probably 10 years old, right? And you can see that even playing drum set, the part that I've worn away is probably 2 inches. Consistency is the key to get a good solid sound out of any drum. And if you're playing electronic drums like I've done in the past on a lot of my other videos, those pads are even smaller, so accuracy does count. All right. So how can you practice this? Well, you can get a metronome and listen to a click. You can get a metronome app on your phone and listen to that. But you can only do that so long before you literally go crazy. So one of the things we used to do when we taught kids, masses of kids, pre-season for marching band, and wanted to get everybody on the same page, is we would just have a playlist of fun songs in various tempos that had a good, strong beat that you could play with. And so put on some of your favorite music or something that you like to listen to, and you just sit there and use that as your metronome. All right, so 8 in a hand. Take the 8 in a hand, different tempos, different velocities. Oh, that was terrible, wasn't it? See? Out of practice. The lower, the quiet ones are the hard ones. This is easy. Requires more of the finger, more of the fulcrum in the back. Clamping down on the stick to use that fine motor control of your fingers versus the larger, you write with your fingers, you don't write with your wrist, right? So those fine motor controls, that's where that comes from. All right, so listen to music, drive your significant other, roommate, whoever crazy, because literally they're going to hear this forever. But remember to focus. Don't be mindless about it. You want to have kind of a conscious practice. You're taking the time to get better. Focus a little bit. And then as you get more and more automatic, you can kind of then use it as a warm-up to get you to the next level, to the next thing you want to practice on. So, 8 in the hand, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and move your feet. Okay, next thing you can do, have that up on the screen. Next thing you can do is you can combine that change with going to hand. So you can go 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then, so now you've gone 8 in the hand, 8 in the hand, and now you're alternating, again, trying to stay as consistent as possible. And then for the next 4 beats, what I'd like to add in is now double the time, so 16th notes. All right, so you're going 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. All right, I have that up on the screen. Again, I'd love for you to kind of, in your mind, start to link what the sound and the count is to the notation, but I'm not here to teach you the notation. I hope that eventually some of this rubs off and you can learn to read music, okay? If you're kind of a little bit flummoxed on the 16th notes and you look closely at the sticking and you do the math, you notice that you just played this. Your right hand is playing that 8th note, 1 and 2 and your left hand is coming in with a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and. That's how I count it. That's how many people count it. There are lots of different ways, lots of different arguments with these tas and kas and all this other stuff. I don't buy into any of that crap. 1 E and a, because when I say to somebody, it comes in the and of 3, they know that's the note right before the 16th note, the 4th 16th note right before the downbeat. It's easy. Sue me if you don't like it. That's just how I learned, and that's how I teach it, and that's how I've done it. So, again, here's the basics. Playing the stroke, being consistent, take that from there. It is basic, it is boring, but trust me, if you work on these foundations, like a house, like anything else, if you can get this foundation right, it's going to improve your playing no matter where you are, because you're going to have a consistent stroke that stays in time, that you maintain control of. I hope this is helpful for you. As always, please like, share, comment. I hope that this series of non-lessons is something that you'll enjoy as added on to some of the stuff I've been doing with the Alesis Nitro Mesh, the drum set, and I'll continue to do some things like that, but I felt like I should be able to share some of my background and knowledge with people on how to do this as well. So if this is something you'd like to see more of, I'd love to hear the comments. I have some ideas for a few more things and going from there. So otherwise, I really appreciate all the help and the comments and the viewership. Subscribe, please. And until the next time, visit bustingsticks.com if there's something you need. I'll put some links for some of these practice pads and stuff like that. Until next time, bye everybody. Have a great day.